marker.
Hello everyone, welcome to another installment of WGS-TV right here on youtube.com/WrestleGamer and ZFX-TV. I'm WB Billy Boudreaux, and yes guys, as you can hear, my voice is back after the past week of suffering from laryngitis, but I am fully recovered. So let's go ahead and let's first talk about what you're seeing right here. We're at part 10 here on Dead Space, which brings us right in the middle of Chapter 3, trying to bring the engines back online so we don't crash into the planet's surface. And of course, you've seen beginning at Chapter 2 of debuting each of the DLC packs, the suits. In Chapter 2, you saw the tank suit with all the weapons and skins packs that are on it. And in Chapter 3 here, you guys see the Scorpion suit. And of course, you see it, it's outlined in red. You can see a picture of a scorpion right there on the helmet. And of course, you also have the Scorpion skins pack on all the weapons. The plasma cutter, the force gun, the lines gun, and the flamethrower, I'm not too ashamed about, because it's a flamethrower. Get to light things on fire. Woohoo, fun. But of course, with each one of the chapters, I'll be debuting a new suit until we either come to the end of the game or the end of the suits. And in that case, I'll either do one of two things. I'll just rotate through all the DLC suits, or there are also additional skin packs for all the weapons, and I'll do either rotate the suits or debut the new skins packs on each of the weapons. So while you guys see looking at Chapter 3 of Dead Space, with also a reminder, I will be playing through Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2 before I get to Dead Space 3, so that way guys can view it properly. Let me go ahead and introduce the co-host for the commentary for this video. First off, he is the host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, which can be heard every Wednesday night on blogtalkradio.com/hardcore wrestling radio. It's the illuminous one, the shining star, Rick Starr. Rick, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing pretty good now that I'm back from a hiatus. Last week, Hardcore Wrestling Radio did have to take a break due to personal reasons, but this week I want to let everybody know that Hardcore Wrestling Radio is back on its regular scheduled day and time, and things should be all set to go tomorrow night.
Side note, everybody, Rick Starr hates excessive amounts of snow.
Yeah.
All right, next couple of guys helped me out last week during my laryngitis. First off, this guy helped me out with the review of Main Event last week from youtube.com/Aurora Shock Media and youtube.com/Sonicfanatik. It's Sonic. Sonic, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to see you back, Billy. Hope you're feeling a lot better.
Yeah, and also, he and 21 Jordan Fan helped me out with an Impact review last week. It's Lance Moss from Lance Moss TV. Lance, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to have you back, man.
All right, so while everybody's checking out Chapter 3 of Dead Space 1, let's go ahead and talk about Monday Night Raw for the week of February 11th, 2013. We open up with Paul Heyman in the ring. He sent out a tout earlier in the day saying that he had a big announcement, and his announcement was he wanted to tender his resignation, him feeling that he was going to be a burden to CM Punk, in his quest to regain the WWE Championship. CM Punk then comes out and says, no, you're not going to be a burden. In fact, I want you there as I regain and celebrate my 455th day as your WWE champion. And then they embrace, and CM Punk kind of had a highly unusual look on his face, which kind of tells you something's up. Something is up in this whole relationship between CM Punk and Paul Heyman, and there are rumors abound. Me and Rick were on a Skype call with the Studley man Ashley, and he said the rumors are going around that at one point we might see CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar, and that could be something of another video that a subject of another video we could have. If that happens, how they would go about doing that. But again, that's just one of the rumors that was just going around here, so we're not going to talk any more about that. But as far as the opening for Monday Night Raw goes, I'm going to go 4 out of 5. You had two guys who are really great on the microphone, and of course, with this being the go-home show to the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which is this Sunday, I thought it was a very unique way to, put in The Rock. Not that we need any more build to it, but I thought it was a very interesting way for them to take it. With this being the go home show, so I'm going to give the opening a 4 out of 5. I'm going to toss it over to Rick Starr, who wants to talk about the opening match between a very lanky guy and a very black guy.
Yes, this was a match for Mark Henry, who returned last week on SmackDown and really did a great return. It was a surprise return on SmackDown, and then this was his first official match against the great Khali, who unfortunately the WWE doesn't know what they're going to do with. And for all intents and purposes, this was a squash match. I think Mark Henry took him out inside 2 minutes or less with the world's strongest slam, and that's all there is to be said about it. Three out of 5 stars, and that's giving it.
And next up, we cut to the backstage reactions of Booker T and Teddy Long, who are very impressed with Mark Henry and glad that he is in they put him in the Elimination Chamber. And next, we have Chris Jericho come in, wanted to make his bid to get into the Elimination Chamber. Of course, with the winner getting the shot at the World Heavyweight title. And Booker T and Teddy Long basically said, "Yeah, you can be in it, but you have to beat someone who's already in the Elimination Chamber in the form of Daniel Bryan." And of course, Chris Jericho, the master of commentaries himself, came up with a brand new nickname for Daniel Bryan, which apparently we'll probably start seeing people come to the shows. Daniel Bearden. A new nickname. But of course, he said he's going to become a 7-time WWE champion. Now, can you dig that, sucker? I thought that was a hilarious thing there by Jericho. Y2J, always hilarious, always funny. Whether he's a face or a heel, he always delivers in great promos. And of course, we did see one that right then and there. We then cut to the next backstage segment, which was taking place in Vicky Guerrero's office, and who gets then interrupted by Paul Heyman, who's trying to convince Vicky Guerrero to add a couple of stipulations to the Rock CM Punk match this Sunday at Elimination Chamber. When she gets a phone call and she puts it on speakerphone, and it's Vince McMahon. Paul Heyman trying to kiss ass a little bit, saying that he had nothing to do with what happened with him and Brock Lesnar, and Vince McMahon with his famous "shut up," and wanted to know what stipulations he wanted to add to the Rock CM Punk match this Sunday. And basically, Paul Heyman wanted to get the disqualification rule and the count-out rule waived, saying that basically if The Rock gets disqualified or counted out, that The Rock would lose the title to CM Punk. And Vince McMahon says, "Yeah, I'll do that," but Paul Heyman also, in his blindness in the promo, saying, "I'll do anything if you will add the stipulations." Vince McMahon replies, "If you put that in writing, then yeah, you can do that." So it kind of makes me wonder, where they're going to take that. You got to figure at some point in time that they're going to implement that into the storyline, that Vince McMahon is going to make Paul Heyman do something. So somewhere down the line, you got to see that. So very interesting way. On the Go Home show, we get a new match added, or new stipulation added rather, to the matchup between The Rock and CM Punk. So I'm wanting to see where they're going to go from here. Lance, let's go to the actual matchup for Chris Jericho and Daniel Bryan. What took place in this match?
Well, it was from these two guys. You could not expect a bad wrestling match. This was, to me, match of the night. When they went hold for hold, and then Chris Jericho hit the code breaker. And I gotta say, it was match of the night.
Cool. And your score?
10 out of 10.
All right, cool. So let's get up to this matchup, which is we're gonna bring in Sonic for. Apparently now WWE wanted to really showcase. Remember that this Sunday we're going to have the Shield versus John Cena, Sheamus, and Ryback. And apparently WWE wanted to kind of showcase them in a 6-man tag. So Sonic, we had John Cena, Sheamus, and Ryback taking on 3MB. Your thoughts?
Well, I thought that they wanted to show that the three can work together, and I really didn't have any doubts there. But they also wanted to show what power they have, and we haven't really seen the Shield in a match yet. So I'm thinking that they're gonna tear them apart when it comes Sunday.
Well, technically, this will be their second match, but because they had a match back at TLC, it was Ryback, and Team Hell No that took on the Shield, but they officially haven't had a match on TV yet. So you're correct on that statement. Your score for this match? Sonic? Well, let me officially give it a 3 out of 5. A very entertaining match. So a unique way. Sonic is back here. Sonic, your score for the 6-man tag?
I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5. It was pretty impressive, seeing the three, in my opinion, the three top guys in the WWE at the moment.
Yeah, and the 3 lower tier guys in the form of 3 MVs.
Yeah, no doubt there.
Yeah, I thought it was a very unique finish. We had Sheamus with White Noise, Cena with Attitude Adjustment, and you had Ryback with the Shell Shock. So now, and that's why we cut to a replay of what happened to the Big Show on Friday Night SmackDown. Lance, for those of us who did not see Friday Night SmackDown, can you bring us up to speed on just what exactly happened with Big Show that kind of got him into a sort of a tiff?
Well, what I remember, basically, somebody told Big Show that Alberto Del Rio was messing with his motorhome or tour bus, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Del Rio dumped orange paint all over Big Show. And that made Big Show a very angry giant.
Yeah, and here's the first example of it. Yoshitatsu and Alex Riley are backstage talking about it. Alex Riley and Yoshitatsu can only get TV time, and it's them getting squashed by the Big Show backstage. Something, to me, that's screwed up. That is screwed up. The only way Alex Riley and Yoshitatsu can get TV time is to let Big Show, one, pretend to knock out Yoshitatsu just by running over him, and then again, whoever gets run over by Big Show is lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
And then Big Show does the knockout punch to Alex Riley. I gotta feel bad for the guys, and so instead of saying, what are we gonna do tonight? Are we in a wrestling match? No, we're gonna show you backstage in your street clothes, getting your asses handed to you by the Big Show. Well, as long as we're earning a paycheck. But yeah, so I kind of feel bad for those two guys. Then next, Big Show's due out for an interview, with his reactions, and Matt Striker, albeit tentative, tried to interview the Big Show, and who ends up just getting knocked out with one punch. And then, Big Show looks like he was about to say something, and then you just get, angrier and angrier, and basically just Jericho trolled everybody. I wonder how many of you guys will remember about that. But that's basically all we got out of that promo. And, you figure you would see more out of Big Show for the go home show to the Elimination Chamber, especially with the his matchup with Roberto Del Rio and the World Heavyweight title. But then again, we still had Del Rio to go, so the night was not through for what I mean in the build for Big Show and Del Rio in the World Heavyweight title match at the Elimination Chamber. I'm gonna give the promo a 3 out of 5. I thought I'd see more plus. Again, I kind of feel bad at the fact that we didn't see that much out of Big Show for this promo. I wanted to see more, and just basically just didn't see that much. And then again, what's the use of complaining about it since it's already happened? The only thing we can do is just express our opinions about it. As I want to remind Rick real quickly, bring Lance in because he got dropped out of the call. So while he's doing that, we're gonna go over to you, Rick, at the exact same time as we talk about the next matchup, which saw Jack Swagger, who had a new manager of sorts that came out last night, taking on Zack Ryder. Rick, first off, talk about this manager and who came out there.
Yes, we have first there's a new gentleman who came into the ring. His name is Sev Caldwell.
Zeb Coulter.
Zev Coulter saying it. Thank you. That's where it was pronouncing it. Anyways, my mistake. But the match itself, Jack Swagger had a match with Zack Ryder, which I'm sorry was yet, surprise, surprise, another squash match. Jack Swagger pretty much ran right through Zack Ryder. He did a lot of his typical his waist lock moves, his waist lock slam. Pretty much, Zack Ryder tried to fight back, but it was a nil fight. And eventually, Swagger pretty much makes him tap out with his now new called his ankle lock, which he now calls the Patriot Act. So that was about under like 2.5 minutes.
Now, for the fans who aren't familiar with Zeb Coulter, talk a little bit about him.
Yes. Right now, Zeb Coulter, for those of you who don't know who he is, he actually did work for JBL. He was also formerly known as Dutch Mantel. He first debuted back in 1996 under the name Uncle, if I'm pronouncing this,
Zebekiah.
Zebekiah, thank you. Back in the early 90s, Mantel was significant in helping some of today's biggest stars in their careers. People like the Blade Runners, Sting and the Ultimate Warrior, Mark Calloway, the Ultimate Warrior, and Steve Austin and several others have been recipients to Mantel's, as what they've called, astute wrestling knowledge.
So well, let me ask you this before you give a score about this one. What are your thoughts about Coulter's appearance with Jack Swagger last night, and what do you think it might signify for Jack Swagger's career, having him as a manager now?
Well, I think Jack Swagger's his angle is that he's trying to do he's a real American, and that he has this gentleman. He's I'm still trying to pronounce the guy's name. And
Zeb Coulter.
Zeb Coulter. He's bringing Zeb Coulter in as the he's a real American. He's kind of like a right-wing American. Where it's he's like people who come across the people who come in from the native people try to come in from the borders, cross the borders, aren't American and try to work for take money and stuff like that, and work, take our jobs and stuff like that. It's a very dark heel that some people will relate to, and other people are gonna be like, it's a mix. It's gonna be a catch-22. What do you think about that one, Bill? I think it's going to be. Also a rough game that the WWE is playing. It's because it's very non-politically correct, if you so to speak.
Yeah, you are right about that, but only time can tell, to me, honestly. Where they go from here between Swagger and Zeb Coulter. For one thing, I think right now, at this point in Jack Swagger's career, I think he really does need a mouthpiece, someone to talk for him, because honestly, Jack Swagger's mic skills aren't exactly great.
Oh, I agree with you there. I think that's where it's going to help him. But let me ask you this: if this was an election year and she was running, and Vince's wife was running for an election, you think they would dare try this angle?
Honestly, no.
That's the thing. And that's why they do it, because they know she doesn't plan on running anymore. I think she's made it clear that she's not running. She's already paid. So I think that's why they're going to say, hey, you know what, throw caution to the wind, because who cares? I don't think they give a shit.
Okay, your score for Swagger and Zack Ryder.
The match itself was crap, but I think the angle after that kind of had a little bit more of entertainment value, and I think Swagger's actually is moving on the up and up. So I'll give the whole section. I'll give it a 3.5, only for the shoot.
We cut to backstage next. Again, it's another reaction between Booker T and Teddy Long, of course, with one of the members of. They're glad they've chosen. They gotten Jack Swagger into the Elimination Chamber, and he's glad that he was impressed by Swagger. And then Dolph Ziggler, AJ Lee, and Big E Langston come in. Swagger not at all pleased. I'm sorry, Ziggler not at all pleased that he'd been looked over. Booker T reminding him that he had his chance when they first made the announcement a couple of weeks ago above the Elimination Chamber, and the fact that Ziggler walked away from it, and it was basically Ziggler now trying to regain his chance to get into it, and Booker T said, yeah, but just like with Jericho, you have to earn your way into the Elimination Chamber. You have to impress us, and of course you have to be in the ring with somebody who's already in the Elimination Chamber. Well, you know what? No, you have to face someone who also wants to get into the Elimination Chamber. I do apologize. I have to reread my notes. It's the Big Red Machine, Kane. So what we have a looming possibility of having Team Hell No inside the Elimination Chamber. Let's go to Lance next, which saw the Awesome One taking on the Mustached One.
I don't really remember this match.
Well, Sonic, what about you? Miz versus Cody Rhodes. Which, let me also remind everybody that we also had Antonio Cesaro on commentary during this match.
Yeah, I really didn't know much about this match until I first saw it. It looked like Miz was taking control, and then Cesaro tried to get involved, and Miz fought him off shortly. And then Cesaro just beat the hell out of the Miz.
Which again leads me to believe, we're gonna have a culmination of this, possibly not at the Elimination Chamber, but I think Rick, you would have to agree, it would make more sense to cultivate this feud on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania.
I would have to agree, but the problem is that I think if they're going to do that, I think it's going to be stretched out a little too far, because now you figure that's 6 more weeks. And do we really want to see these two fight for another 6 more weeks?
Well, honestly, who would you rather see? Antonio Cesaro versus The Miz, or Antonio Cesaro versus R-Truth?
To be honest with you, now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's not a valid fight. But I think the problem is that they started the feud a little too early. I think they could have given Cesaro a few more other feuds, and they could have started it. They should have started the fight like maybe now and given them 6 weeks to fight, rather than, because The Miz and Cesaro has been fighting for several weeks now. It's gonna be 8, almost 10 weeks since come on. It's like, okay, really? By then it's like, yeah, let's just get it over with. You know what I mean?
Lance, do you think it would make more sense, I should say, for them to either cultivate the feud this Sunday at Elimination Chamber or at WrestleMania?
Honestly, this Sunday, because it's been going on too long.
All right, Sonic, your score for Miz versus Cody Rhodes?
Again, I didn't really catch much of it. It seemed like it was too short, though. I'd probably give it a 2.5 out of 5.
Well, we had a tag team matchup coming up next, Lance. Between Epico and Primo, former WWE Tag Team Champions, taking on 2 giant dancing dudes.
Let's just call it the Funkasaurus and the Hip Hop Hippo versus Epico and Primo.
Finally, someone else remembers that gimmick other than me.
And they basically squashed Epico and Primo.
Literally.
Yep. And then they proceeded to dance. And one of the Funkadactyls got chased off Rosa. That's about all that happened.
It was, I think her name is Naomi. I think that's the one who did it.
Yeah. All right.
Your score for the match?
2.
2. 2. Yeah, that signifies something else. That's not the score of the match, guys. That's all we're gonna leave it with. And honestly, we had Tensai and Brodus Clay dancing, but honestly, I think every red-blooded American male, or let me just say every red-blooded male, would rather see Rosa Mendez and the Funkadactyls dancing rather than Tensai and Brodus Clay. Mm-hmm. That's all I got to say about that. Other than winning. And then we had the Shield to come out to cut a promo for their matchup between themselves and Ryback, Sheamus, and John Cena basically to respond to what Cena had to say, that they were going to get justice of their own, not only this Sunday, but that night as well. And then let me just say this. Somebody finally told Roman Reigns how to freaking speak in a promo, because, up until that point in time, we just had like a robotic monotone. Hi, I am robotic Roman Reigns. I do not know how to speak in a promo, so I will talk like this. But Roman Reigns actually started to show some semblance of emotion and feelings into his promo last night, and I actually thought he did a good job for once on the microphone. But word to Roman Reigns: don't shout during your microphone promo, because when you shout, this is how you sound. That's all I heard. Honestly, that's all I heard. So learn how to talk first before you shout. Talk first and then shout. But you learn how to talk, no, learn how to shout. That's all I'm going to say. But then the lights go out, similar to what we've seen with the Shield in the past, and then the lights come back on, and Ryback and Sheamus and John Cena basically pulled an Undertaker and appeared out of nowhere, and he started beating up on the Shield. And Rick, that's gonna be one of the oldest tricks in the book. They had to be underneath the ring, right?
Yeah, yeah, that was expected. And we've talked. I think you and I also talked about this. There was supposed to be rumors of them having a elimination chamber match style War Games match, and apparently that has been canceled. So what do you think about that?
I thought it would have been a fitting thing to try, because we've seen that all the time in WWE video games, where we had tornado tag team elimination chamber matches, and I think a lot of fans have been wanting to see it implemented just once in actual WWE programming. And so that's why I believe the rumor was going around that this was going to be a tornado tag team style elimination chamber match. It would have been interesting to see, them actually implementing it for once, because we've only seen basically, one on one on one on one on one, and that's a lot of ones. And but them taking it down just to a traditional 6-man tag, I'm not upset about that, but I really would have liked to have seen them implement that the tornado tag team elimination chamber match just once. From all the times we've seen it, especially starting back at SmackDown versus Raw 2006. A 4 out of 5 on this segment between Sheamus. Sheamus, Ryback, John Cena, and the Shield. And for once, we haven't heard "Let's Go Cena, Cena Sucks" on a Monday Night Raw. We didn't hear that. To me, honestly, we didn't hear that at all on this week's Monday Night Raw. Next up, we had the other half of Team Rhodes Scholars, the team formerly known as Team Rhodes Scholars, Damien Sandow, taking on Alberto Del Rio. Rick, your thoughts on the match?
Very simple. It's surprise, surprise. Yet another squash match. What's going on with Raw today? The past couple of weeks, they've just been doing squash match after squash match after squash match, and it's become a trend. If you watch the first couple of hours, that's all you see, and so here it is. Within inside a minute and a half, Damien Sandow taps out into the cross arm breaker. Nothing surprising here. I wish I could say there was, something entertaining. There's some entertainment value, but there really wasn't. I'll give it 2.5 stars, but just due to frustration.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of fans out there do share in your sentiment. Now, next up, we cut to backstage. Wade Barrett's getting ready for his matchup coming up next with Kofi Kingston, when he gets jumped by Bo Dallas. Bo Dallas looking to get a measure of revenge on Wade Barrett, because if I do remember on one of the shows last week, it might have been on last week's Monday Night Raw, Wade Barrett has suffered a loss, and then he took it out on Bo Dallas backstage. So Bo Dallas wanted to get a measure of revenge on Wade Barrett for the attack. And then next, we cut to this matchup with a non-title match, Lance, between Wade Barrett and Kofi Kingston, which saw a very unusual way to finish this match. Lance, talk about it.
Well, basically, I guess Kofi goes from like a slide through the ropes or a suicide dive underneath the bottom ropes, or or actually, now think about it, Wade Barrett throws him underneath the ropes, but catches him and puts the ring apron on his head and then hits him with a hammer or a bull hammer elbow. Then he gets the 1, 2, 3.
What all right, your thoughts on the match and what's your score?
It was a decent match, and I'd give it 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one. Then next up, Sonic, we had the big matchup, the winner getting into the Elimination Chamber. The Big Red Machine, one half of Team Hell No, and the Tag Team Champions, Kane, taking on the show-off, Dolph Ziggler. What happened in this match?
I gotta be honest. I don't really remember much about this match. All I do remember is that AJ and I'm trying to remember his name.
Big E?
Big E. They tried to get involved, and it didn't work out for them. And Kane took advantage.
Yeah, that's basically what happened, right, Rick?
Yes, he did capitalize. Kane did capitalize. And of course, I mean, I could see where, we talked about this where, Ziggler could possibly turn face from this over time, where he could say, eventually this, could backtrack, or eventually you could see somewhere down the road that AJ, because we've seen AJ Lee cost him a couple of matches because she's getting involved in his matches. Maybe he'll eventually step away, where AJ Lee gets all upset and she gets twisted. And of course, what happens? Who's going to come to our aid? Big E Langston. And of course, could you see this happening somewhere down the line?
Honestly, yeah. It is a feasible scenario for them to go with that.
The one beef I really had about this whole thing, now, if anybody paid attention to SmackDown, Kane, it was his very last chance of getting in to Elimination Chamber. So why did this match happen the very next night? Did that make any sense?
Honestly, I really don't know, but apparently they had to find some sort of usage for him, and well, apparently now with Rey Mysterio being out and being replaced by Mark Henry, they wanted to do something else with Kane, and with Daniel Bryan being in the Elimination Chamber, that eliminates any possibilities of having a tag team title match taking place at the pay-per-view. So apparently the only other thing they could think of to do with Kane is to put him in the Elimination Chamber. So now we have officially now for the Elimination Chamber match, we have Kane, we have Daniel Bryan, we have Chris Jericho, we have Mark Henry, we have Jack Swagger, and who am I missing?
Randy Orton.
Randy Orton, yes. So now we have. All right, let me go through it again one more time. Just want to make sure I have everything correct here. We have Jericho, we have Kane, we have Daniel Bryan, we have Mark Henry, we have Jack Swagger, and now we have Randy Orton. So those are the 6 members that are set for the Elimination Chamber match this Sunday. Again, with the winner getting a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship, whomever that may be, at WrestleMania. Rick, let me go to Sonic first, and I'll go to Rick. I'll go to you, Rick, for your score. Sonic, your score for Ziggler versus Kane?
Honestly, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. A good match to set up the Elimination Chamber match this Sunday.
And Rick, do you concur, or do you have a different score?
Yeah, I mean, the quality of the match was good, like I said. And like I said, there was a lot of setups for a lot of different things. Like I said, with Ziggler, possibly, with the AJ Lee possibility, because you could see how that's setting up. The pay-per-view setup, despite the whole Kane issue. Yeah, the quality of the match was good. It was probably the best match of the night because all the other matches, quite frankly, sucked.
Well, let's get to the finale of Monday Night Raw, which is The Rock's promo leading up into their match between him and CM Punk this Sunday for the WWE Championship. A lot of fans been up in arms and in dismay over the fact that the WWE put the title on The Rock, and because he was just using it to promote his movie. And Rick, I know that's something that you were saying for quite some time, and of course, in some instances that yes, you were right over that fact, but well, he cut a very decent promo at the start, and Rick, I want to go to you. Talk a little bit more about what happened in this promo.
Well, the Rock pretty much, after the Rock was, cutting his promo, CM Punk, pretty much came out, and he was his music after his music hit, he came out and said, the Rock was pretty much mocking him and saying he said he made some kind of a Twilight joke, from when Punk and Heyman hugged each other.
Yeah.
And after the after the stipulation, The Rock said, of course, just bring it. And he called him down, told him to bring his ass down to the ring. That's when they came down and stuff for the moment. And then he says, Heyman looked at it and says, I got your back. Punk, of course, being Punk, not the traditional heel, he charged to the ring, and he started hammering on The Rock. They go back, The Rock, goes right to the Punk, who reverses delivers some rights of his own. Rock reverses rips into the spine buster. What?
You reverses the spine buster?
Yes, he reverses the spine buster, but of course, right before he goes for the people's elbow, that's when Heyman trips on him, and that's of course when we see CM Punk get up, and what happens? The Rock eats a knee with the knees to faces. So.
Yep. The GTS, the go to sleep for the WWE champion. Very unique way to end the go home show. We also ended on basically what a lot of fans would kind of consider to be a high and low point. For all the traditional WWE fans out there, they're upset that CM Punk got the best of The Rock. But but to fans like you, me, and Lance, and Sonic, who see it the way that we see it, we thought it was a very interesting way and a good way to end the go-home show on a very, high and interesting point, concerning your WWE Championship match between The Rock and CM Punk, which will be the highlight match, which, for once, I am actually glad that WWE was actually highlighting the WWE Championship instead of highlighting John Cena. Thank you. Nothing against John Cena, but when one guy is outshining and being overpushed more than your top championship, that's what I have a problem with. But right now we got the WWE Championship being put into the spotlight. Even though a lot of people don't like who's involved in it, I still say it's a lot better than having John Cena being pushed in the main event with the WWE Championship nowhere in sight. Overall score on Monday Night Raw this week. I'm Rick. I know he's well. Let me go to Rick, because from the way it sounds, you really want to respond to that.
I'm sorry. I can't even give it a 3. I have to give it a 2.5 because really, aside from the main event, what was name one good match, one significant match?
Well, I thought you wanted to respond to what I had to say about the WWE Championship.
Well, the WWE Championship, of course, The Rock, all he's done is pimp out that goddamn title. That title's been nothing but, he does. You know how I feel about The Rock. I've bitched about The Rock, and I would rather them highlight John Cena than highlight The Rock, because he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve to be in wrestling. I'll just be glad when WrestleMania comes and he's gone and he goes back to Hollywood and he's forgotten about until next year when they pimp him out for something else.
Yeah, but then to overpush Cena over the top championship of your company?
The top champion right now is The Rock, and I'm sorry, The Rock doesn't deserve it. I would.
But I'm talking about in general, though.
In general, yes, okay, I agree with you on that aspect. Yes, then they should be promoting somebody like CM Punk or whoever the champion is. I agree with you, but in this aspect, you know what? I'd rather be pushing Zack Ryder than pushing The Rock.
Wow. Well, well, now let's get to the overall score and thoughts on Monday Night Raw this week. Overall, on Monday Night Raw this week, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was a solid opening with Paul Heyman and CM Punk. Mark Henry and the Great Khali, I don't know. The only good thing I have to say about that was Natalya jumping up and down. Chris, despite what DJ Yoles thinks, Chris Jericho getting a shot into the Elimination Chamber, I thought it was good. very interested to see, one, we've got the two stipulations being added, the no disqualification rule and the cutout rule being waived in the WWE Championship match, and what exactly will Vince McMahon make Paul Heyman do, in response to those stipulations being added. The Jericho-Daniel Bryan match, I thought it was good. I kind of thought Bryan was a little bit out of place for the code breaker finish, but other than that, I still thought it was a great match. And even Jericho, even when they have the Fallout show from all their shows on their YouTube channel, even said it. He'd been wanting to work with Daniel Bryan for the longest time, and he only had one opportunity briefly when he was in NXT. And so tonight he really wanted to work with him and had nothing but good things to say about Daniel Bryan. And to me, that is a huge endorsement from someone that with the status of Chris Jericho in the wrestling industry. And if I was Daniel Bryan, I would be taking that, really, really well, because that is a huge endorsement from someone as huge as Chris Jericho. John Cena, Sheamus, Ryback taking on 3B. Again, I think that was his WWE's attempt to showcase what these three guys can do together as a six-man tag, and while at the same time pissing on Slater, Drew McIntyre, and Jinder Mahal. The whole thing with Big Show, and what happened again, I really want to see more out of the build between Big Show and Del Rio for the World Heavyweight title coming up this Sunday, and it just wasn't there. And again, I feel really bad for Riley and Yoshitatsu. Their only chance to get on Monday Night Raw and be shown on TV is to have them getting their asses kicked by the Big Show. Match Striker always gets it in the end, and I do mean that in both figuratively and literally. Jack Swagger and Zack Ryder, I'm very interested to see where they go with him and Zeb Coulter, a.k.a. Dirty Dutch Mantel. And, of course, now we had Miz and Cody Rhodes. Again, it's just too much involvement with Cesaro and The Miz, and I just really want to see where they cultivate this. That's my thing. When and where are they going to cultivate the feud between Miz and Cesaro for the United States title? Tensai and Brodus Clay defeating Epico and Primo. Again, the people I really want to see dancing was the Funkin' Actors and Rosa Mendez, and then we saw Tensai and Brodus Clay, and it kind of nearly made my lunch come up and say hello. The Shield's promo, I thought it was very, very good. Dean Ambrose, again, really knows how to talk on the microphone. Roman Reigns getting better. I got to say that. And of course, we had Cena, Sheamus, and Ryback pulling an Undertaker, appearing out from the darkness and beating up the Shield. I'm really looking forward to seeing where the six-man tag goes. Del Rio and Damian Sandow, you pretty much heard the Shining Stars' thoughts about it. It is what it was. It was a squash match. Wayne Barrett and Kofi Kingston was an okay match, but again, just like with Cesaro and The Miz, we're seeing a lot of teasing between Barrett and Bo Dallas, so I'd like to see where they take that from there. Kane gets into the Elimination Chamber match by defeating Dolph Ziggler, and of course we culminated the Monday Night Raw go-home show to the Elimination Chamber with a very interesting promo with Rock and CM Punk, which saw CM Punk make The Rock go to sleep. So overall score for me, it gets a 4 out of 5. I'm going to start with Rick Starr. Rick, your overall score and thoughts on Monday Night Raw?
Yeah, like I said earlier, but like just 2.5. I don't think, aside from the main event, it had nothing. I don't think, there's a few good promos. I think Jack Swagger is really, his comeback is really starting to impress me. I'd really like to see what he's got. I think Zeb Coulter is really going to help his career but he really will need to improve his mic skills. If he doesn't increase his own mic skills on his own, then he's going to be in trouble all over again. So it's just that simple. Other than that, like I said, Raw sucked. Really sucky Raw this week, especially for a go-home show.
All right, let's go to Lance Moss. Lance, your overall score and thoughts on Monday Night Raw this week?
I think 4 out of 5, honestly. We had some interesting stuff like the return of Dutch Mantel. And then we had some funny stuff like, well, to me, Big Show knocking out Matt Striker. And then I got to see AJ, which I'm a big AJ fan anyway. And some good matches, so 4 out of 5.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Sonicfanatik. Sonic, your overall score and thoughts on Monday Night Raw?
Oh, I agree with Rick on some of the points. The opening match and the closing match were pretty good, and I like the 6-man tag match with Cena, Ryback, and Sheamus. But other than that, none of the matches really stood out in my opinion. The promo with the Shield and Cena, Ryback, and Sheamus. Um, I like to see maybe that they're getting into the heads of the Shield a little bit, and then the final promo with The Rock and Punk. Where like the very end of it, where Punk pretty much stole that WWE title. I'd like to see where that goes. If it's just like a little thing, I'd like to see if he holds on to that belt till Sunday, even though it's not properly his. I give Raw a 3 out of 5.
Well, as everyone can really see right now, we're in Chapter 4 now of Dead Space, which means it's time for a new DLC suit. We'll be operating with the Obsidian suit here on Dead Space, and on the next installment of Dead Space right here on WGS-TV, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Obsidian suit, and of course with whatever review we got coming up next. So what we want to know now from you guys out there, the viewers and subscribers, your thoughts on Monday Night Raw this week. Be sure you put your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and favorite this video, especially if you want to see a lot more from Dead Space right here on WGS TV. We got Rick Starr with Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Rick, what you got coming up next?
Well, we'll be live this coming Wednesday at 8:00 p.m. 7 Central. We'll be covering a little bit about Raw, and just Andy of course will be with us. We hope you, of course, Billy, will be joining us, so giving us some of your own thoughts. Some of the news that's coming up, we will be talking about an update on The Undertaker, an indie wrestler who trashed Trish Stratus, and an update on R-Truth's injury, and much, much more.
Lance Moss is over on his own YouTube channel, youtube.com/Lance Moss TV, and of course a regular on a good friend of ours, Jordan's channel at youtube.com/21JordanFan. Lance, what you got shaking over there?
Well, we got coming up, I know, well, I have to say, I got to upload the Raw review we did last night. And then then we also got main event coming up, Impact. We're going to be doing a review of what happened on Chamber, and we're also going to start doing a little bit of our NASCAR stuff coming up. And then next week sometime, I think I got a collaborative video on an album review of the Beatles' White Album coming up.
Also, be sure you guys check him out over on youtube.com/Lance Moss TV. Sonic is also on YouTube. He's got his own channel, youtube.com/Sonicfanatik. Sonic, what you got shaking on over on your channel?
Well, right now I'm busy working on Let's Plays of video games and reviews of games and various anime. If you don't know about me, just head over to my channel, and if you'd like to see a game or an anime to be reviewed or Let's Played, just send me a PM and you might see it. As for upcoming projects, really nothing scheduled right now, but I'm trying to figure out, what I want to do next. Most likely it'll be a Sonic game, because those are definitely my favorite, but you never know. We'll just have to see when it comes out.
We also like to wish a very happy belated birthday to one Nick Bondage here in Louisiana. It was his birthday last night, so I want to go ahead and just wish him a very happy belated birthday here. And also, don't forget to please subscribe to youtube.com/WrestleGamer and youtube.com/ZFXTV Network. So for Lance Moss, Sonicfanatik, and the Shining Star Rick Starr, I'm Double B Billy Boudreaux saying, I want to see Natalya dancing and jumping up and down again. Please, please, please. Can you guys tell I'm that lonely?
Stoke Volunteers. Stoke Volunteers. Stoke Volunteers. Spirituals medium. Stoke Volunteers. Stoke Volunteers. I'm Haley Ringrose. Stoke Volunteers.
My name's Andrew Weatherall.
Spirituals medium. Stoke Volunteers.